I will tell you this, Israel's in big trouble. Israel's in big
Taiwan, Israel.
Well, and nobody talked about Taiwan.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Taiwan, Israel, same thing.
When I was president, and he understood that. I had a very good relationship until COVID, because after COVID, my relationship, I didn't.
By the way, he means she, not Sheikh Khalifa of the UAE.
You know, there's only so much you can take. China's been ripping us off for years. I put tariffs on, took in hundreds of billions of dollars, all of that. I still got a lot. But when COVID came out and came in, obviously from China.
Which was the thing? Did it come out and come in? It came out from there and into here. I see. Okay.
I mean, China tried to blame Italy and Europe initially, if you remember. People don't remember these things. But
yeah, we do. Yeah, they were doing that while you were going. They're handling it very professionally. I have great respect for Chairman Xi. While you were saying that, they were blaming Italy. Right. We know this.
Very much hurt my relationship with President Xi, because and maybe... I mean, who wouldn't? Who can speak to somebody you're losing? The world is dying around you. The whole world, not just the United States.
I mean, there's a certain point. At a certain point, when the whole world is dying around you, you're like, all right, let's keep working on the trade deal a little while longer. And I'm only going to kiss your ass for another 8 weeks.
Prices have been hit much harder, relatively much harder. So when you look at it, when you look at what we've done, the
live stream dropped out here. Sorry.
And we did a great job. And then really handed him a very beautiful palette. We handed it to him. And every day they're destroying that palette.
Yeah, the palette is being destroyed, guys. I don't know if he means the painting palette, which I think is the gesture that he's talking about, or the hard or soft palate, we don't know, or his ability to taste things and tell the difference between sweet and salty.
And we have a big problem. We're going to have a big problem if it continues. I will say this, Israel was safe with me.
We're back in Israel. We were in China for a second, and Italy, and now we're back at, don't forget to reset your watches.
Iran would have made a deal with me. They were being hurt very badly by the sanctions. Now most of those sanctions have been taken off.
No, they haven't.
And you're right, China was buying very little. I said, don't do it, don't do it. Now they're buying more than 500,000 barrels a day. Can you believe it?
Yeah, right. Mark, you're a fucking liar, according to Trump. That number, you just made it up. It's not nearly enough. I know you think it's 500 million barrels, but no. It's 500 bazillion barrels.
So, but you didn't hear about Taiwan. You know, when I was president, you didn't hear bombers are flying all over Taiwan.
We don't hear that now. Bombers are not flying all over Taiwan. They're not. They aren't.
They'll do something with Taiwan probably after the Olympics, because they don't.
You think? Yeah, probably not before the Olympics. Yeah.
Respect the Biden administration. I watched them the other day sitting.
You do realize we don't own Taiwan. We're just helping, and the Japanese and the UK and Australia are also helping us defend Taiwan. But what?
President Xi, who's at the top of his game. There's nobody in Hollywood that could play his role. I know him very well.
What? What? Hold on. They're what?
The Biden administration. I watched them the other day sitting. There was President Xi, who's at the top of his game. There's nobody in Hollywood that could play his role. I know him very well. I had a great relationship with him.
What does what does that mean? What the fuck? This is another central casting kind of thing. He's right. He's a tough Chinese leader straight from central casting. Nobody could play his what? Nobody in what? Do you think Levin knows what the shit he's talking about?
But I told him early on, don't ever do anything with Taiwan. Don't ever do it. He understood that. Strong guy.
That's what you said? Don't ever do anything with Taiwan. That's what you told him in meetings.
He understood it.
He did?
But nobody talked about Taiwan during. They talked about some.
Well, you did. You told him don't do anything with Taiwan. I think is the and wonderful. Hold on. This is let's see. We'll probably find something. Let's see. Trump, Xi, Taiwan. When President-elect Trump took a congratulatory call from Taiwan's leader to inaugurate 4 years of chaotic foreign policy with China, left everyone. President had learned way first to get to the Trump president look like practice, not just theory. When Chinese diplomat Yang Jiechi berated his American counterparts in the meeting at Jared Kushner's office on December 9th, he was not merely establishing the baseline of the relationship or testing the Trump team for strengths and weaknesses. He was also conveying his government's intense displeasure at one of the incoming Trump administration's first official acts vis-a-vis China. Everyone knew why Chinese leadership was upset, but Yang made it clear anyway. President Trump had taken this call. Beijing considered Taiwan a renegade province. Every minor interaction between Washington and Taipei was grounds for diplomatic protest. The time for accept the calls. Where is it? Hold on. The Taiwan call. Trump ended up conceding one huge issue in the U.S.-China competition almost immediately for nothing in return. This incident, in turn, here you go. This is, where is it? At the time, the mere fact that Trump had accepted a call from Taiwan's president and that the White House put out a press release saying that the president had taken a call from the, quote, president of Taiwan was proof enough for most of the media that the incoming president was either a reckless China hawk or a neophyte who clumsily failed his first test. But the story of it, exactly how Trump came to take a call from Taiwan's president remains in dispute, even among people directly involved. The story's outcome, on the other hand, is incontestable. Trump ended up conceding one huge issue in the U.S.-China competition almost immediately for nothing in return. This incident, in turn, became the foundation for Trump's personal relationship with Xi Jinping, a relationship that would have massive influence on the course of history. In the first year of the Trump administration, the White House was a hall of mirrors. Every story was told from several perspectives. Let's see. In case of Trump's Taiwan call, the most often reported version of how is one that least believed by the people actually in the know. This version was largely accepted by the Washington establishment because it was plausible enough, because in the chaos of the moment, there were too many other scandals drawing the media's attention to search for a better version. Reporter led New York Times and others credits the Taiwan call to former Kansas Senator Bob Dole, whose lobbying law firm, Alston Bird, gets paid $280,000 a year by the Taiwanese government. Dole worked behind the scenes over the past 6 months to establish a high-level contact. He got them in, but that's not the way it actually went down. According to the people who were directly involved, the real connection between the Trump team and Taiwan, they say, was made by then Randy Shriver, a former Pentagon official, who at the time led a small think tank called Project 2049, institute that was partially funded by Taiwanese government money. Trump went through the calls today, at least one, He just took the call because anybody who calls him and says you're doing great, he believes the call. That's why. According to Bannon, Trump felt the same way. If you take the phone call, it will explode around the region, but you will have the Chinese government on the back foot. Bannon told Trump, well, then I'm definitely taking the phone call. Trump responded. Phone call was a few minutes long. Trump's defensiveness was on display when he tweeted the next day that he had not initiated the call. The president of Taiwan called me today to wish me congratulations on winning the presidency. Thank you. This left Beijing in a pickle. Speaking with Taiwan's leader was an affront to the Xi wanted to come to Mar-a-Lago and cement his relationship with Trump, but couldn't lose face. The Taiwan call had to be walked back, otherwise Xi was there. So Trump wanted the problem with Xi fixed as well. He never intended to offend Xi with the call. Trump saw the two countries as two giant corporations, and Xi was as his opposing CEO. He needed a good relationship with the other CEO to have productive negotiations, at least at the start. Trump also looked up to the strongman leaders. So Kushner, working with the Chinese ambassador, devised a plan to break the impasse. On the evening of Thursday, February 9th, after most White House staff had gone home, Kushner called Bannon, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to the president's residence. There, Trump took a phone call from Xi, and as Kushner arranged, his father-in-law promised Xi directly that he would accept no more phone calls from the leader of Taiwan. In the official White House statement about the call, Matt Pottinger secured a small but largely symbolic victory. The original draft had stated that Trump would commit to honoring, quote, the one China policy, but Pottinger made the statement read, President Trump agreed at the request of President Xi to honor our one child policy, emphasis added. That edit maintained America's historical position of ambiguity as to whether the United States agrees with Beijing on its claims, regardless, which is, in many ways, I think, that it sounds like she told him what to do. Know what I mean? Thanks, guys. Thanks for subscribing with Prime, Kimmy. Yay! Thank you, Kochika. Kochika? I'm going to go with Kochika, just for fun. Dee Dee, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube as well. That edit maintained America's historical position of ambiguity. Regardless, the call showed that Trump had conceded Xi's main point, that the Taiwan call was wrong and would never happen again. That removed the obstacle for the Mar-a-Lago summit. Not everyone was pleased about this outcome. Bannon, for instance, was livid. He saw the call as a naive concession by Kushner and a misstep by Trump. Why did we take a phone call from Xi? We had all the leverage. She was dying to go to Mar-a-Lago. Bannon told me later. They got to Kushner. This was Kushner who drove that. Since that time, Trump doesn't want to hear about Taiwan. Since that time, Trump doesn't want to hear about Taiwan. Who the fuck is Alex Wong? Trump screamed. And why didn't anybody tell me he was going to Taiwan? Get him out of there. After these two phone calls, Trump's attitude towards Taiwan could vacillate between indifference and disrespect and would continue in that vein throughout his presidency because everybody in the administration was aware of the president's opinion. The Trump administration, despite being full-on pro-Taiwan hawks at the bureaucratic level, avoided almost all public displays of sympathy or support for the island for the first 3 years. What minor increases in the support the U.S. did muster were done largely without public fanfare and sometimes even without Trump's knowledge. For instance, despite the fact that Mattis chose Randy Schriver, a pro-Taiwan hardliner, to be the top Pentagon policy official for Asia, it took over 2 years to push through sales of a new F-16 fighter jets to the island. The Pentagon didn't send any generals or admirals to visit Taipei for public events, which would have been a relatively benign move. For the first year, no senior Trump officials visited Taiwan at all. When Trump officials did visit Taiwan and Beijing complained, Trump took China's side. In March 2018, a Deputy Assistant Secretary of State named Alex Wong would visit Taipei, meet with senior Taiwanese officials, and give a speech praising Taiwan's democracy as an example for the entire region. Wong had been the foreign policy staffer for Tom Cotton and had worked on Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign before that. The United States has been and always will be Taiwan's closest friend and partner, he said during his trip to Taipei. The Chinese government protested to the White House. When Trump was informed that Beijing was angry about the remarks of Wong in Taipei, he was furious. Who the fuck is Alex Wong? And why didn't anybody tell me he was going to Taiwan? Get him out of there. Wong wasn't fired, but the rest of the administration got the message. One that in the months and years to follow would become clear to Taiwan's government as well. In early 2019, when the American Institute in Taiwan was preparing a reception to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Taiwan Relations Act, there was an internal administration discussion about sending a cabinet-level official to attend. No senior cabinet member wanted to go, so Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin was given the assignment. But a month before the ceremony, Trump fired Shulkin after it was revealed he was taking his wife on European shopping and sightseeing trips under the cover of official U.S. government business. When the Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen arrived at the reception, the highest-level U.S. guests were an Assistant Secretary of State and former House Speaker Paul Ryan. There were no senior Trump officials in the room. Nobody even talked about Taiwan. They didn't have to. You'd already conceded Taiwan was theirs. The reason that they're flying these planes in is because the Biden administration won't.